What you see here is the Flicontech EVO Mk.I base and grip along with their desktop mount. It arrived a while ago and I've been testing ever since. It's a multifunctional grip, much like the Constellation Alpha from Virpil it clearly drew inspiration from. But the real surprise is hidden inside the base. Let's go! Wait, let me first give you some background information. Many of us thought the Flicontech EVO to be vaporware, but suddenly a release date was announced. I reached out to Flicontech last year and asked for a review sample. What I expected was more or less a copy of the Alpha with an own gimbal construction. What I found inside the base though was some kind of hybrid. Some people out there say it's a carbon copy of the Warburg D gimbal. One of the few things completely identical though is the way the cams are mounted inside the mechanism. They even use the same type of screws on each distinct position. If they had used different ones, things might have looked more like a Winwing dual cam gimbal. One could argue now that that's just the way dual cam gimbals are basically built, like 4-cylinder inline engines. The opposing opinion could be that it's just a copy and should be treated as such. I leave this decision to you and to the legal advisors of any company involved. There's much beyond this issue to delve into here, in positive and negative aspects, particularly regarding ergonomics. With that said, let's go! Out of the box emerge lots of smaller boxes. There's the base plate, a USB cable, a desk mount adapter, the grip, a manual, the base, and the desk mount system. Let's check the rest of the gimbal besides the cam mountings. The microcontrollers and contactless sensors are state of the art, soldering and cabling are clean and well done. The whole engineering of the gimbal leaves nothing to complain about. The material used is aircraft-grade aluminum alloy. There has been a problem with slightly rough pre-production cams though. Flicontech supplied me with a set of new ones. They seem to come with a polished and greased surface which solved the issue. I think the powder coating isn't necessary and the whole thing could have been circumvented by just using polished stainless steel cams like Virpil, Winwing or VKB do. But keep in mind that's some high-level complaining going on here. I'm convinced most people wouldn't even notice. You can choose between soft center and no center cams depending on your preference or the game you play. Together with the base comes a set of springs, soft, intermediate and heavy. The dampeners are smaller than the Virpil counterparts but well engineered nonetheless. They still are able to create more than enough friction to decrease grip bounce, or if you remove the springs or use soft ones, keep it in place, which is perfect for flying helicopters. Each axis can be adjusted separately without opening the base. Just slide an Allen key through the respective hole on the bottom to set the tension to your liking. The desk mount isn't as well engineered as the rest of the kit. My guess is that Flicontech buys it somewhere else and rebrands it. It's a decent construction though and does its job very well. Assembly is effortless too. The desk mounting clamp is easy to operate and requires minimal force, yet once locked, it firmly attaches to the table. Now, let's move on to the grip. It has a slightly roughened surface. The plastic feels quite good from a quality perspective. Flicontech offers left and right-handed versions. You get a metal analog brake lever, a pinky button, an adjustable palm rest, several 8-way heads, a mini stick, 2 buttons, and a double-clickable scroll encoder. On the front is a 2-stage trigger and a metal flip trigger. On the side you can find a 3-way switch. Most axes use contactless sensors, with the exception of the mini stick, which utilizes a mechanical ALPS potentiometer to measure its motions. The integrated twist axis is lockable. Here's how the switches sound. The grip uses the same mounting mechanism and connector as the Virpil sticks and is also compatible to Thrustmaster. This means you could also connect a Constellation Alpha or Thrustmaster grip. The cable connector on the base is sturdy and securely locks in place. Only Flicontech's own cables will work though. After running some tests and flying for a while, I can't complain about anything regarding the gimbal. It's super smooth and doesn't need to fear any competition. The deflection is 22 degrees, which is 3 degrees more than Winwing's Orion 2 base and 5 more than Virpil's CM3. That's nice for desktop use, but like the Warbird base, this means it's not designed for extensions. Now let's talk about ergonomics. Since I don't own a Constellation Alpha, I can't compare it directly. But they seem quite similar in their general layout, so maybe some flaws translate between them. The huge range of different control elements combined on the grip is awesome, but comes with some drawbacks. No matter how I try to hold it, I can't reach all of them comfortably. Especially the button on the lower right and the scroll wheel require some thumb gymnastics. In case of the button, that's a matter of getting used to though. More problematic are the controls on the front. The flip trigger and the brake lever, being unnecessarily large, can impede your hand and finger movements, especially when the flip trigger is down. Here's a comparison to the Winwing F16EX. There's lots of space to move even if the flip trigger is active. The next unergonomic element is the three-way switch on the side. It feels like it's bending because the plastic tip is so narrow. You also have to awkwardly operate it with the side of your index finger. Winwing also has a better solution here in my books. They just slapped a four-way head onto the side of their stick you can easily operate with the fingertip. The EVO's weirdest mistake though is the trigger. Flicontech chose to give it a rounded form on the tip. It's already short, and this choice makes it even less precise and prone to make your finger slide off. Also, while the first stage can be clearly felt and heard, the second stage gives few to no audible or tactile clues. The heads are good and use high-quality switches according to Flicontech. Compared to VKB's heads, they are more on the softer side and feel a little bit wobbly. Their caps also feel slightly clunky, like the earlier Virpil caps on the Constellation Delta for example. The flip trigger has several configurable stages, which become active the further you pull it. It also acts as an analog axis. Once you activate the trigger, it jumps to 15%. You can then pull it all the way to 85%. It then jumps to 100 as you activate the main two-stage trigger. The heads can be configured independently and downgraded to four-way heads or just buttons to avoid false inputs. Strangely, all of the axes have a dead zone applied by default. This means there's a certain threshold around the center position of an axis where inputs are ignored. That's usually a way to deal with inaccurate mechanics or sensors. These here are top-notch though, so make sure you go through all the settings and disable the dead zones. Now, what do I make out of all of this? There's one big question that remains, but let's first wrap up the technical details. I'd say this is an okay debut. The gimbal is very good and I can find almost nothing to complain about. The grip, on the other hand, has some ergonomic problems. Some are universal, like the side switch and the trigger, others are more individual. As with every input device, there's no one-size-fits-all. This counts for the Constellation Alpha as well as for the EVO Mk.I or the F16EX. I'd say you need larger hands to be comfortable with the Alpha and the Mk.I, while medium to small hands should try out something smaller like an F16 style grip or the VKB Cosmosema. The software configuration options aren't as deep as Virpil's or VKB's, but it's very intuitive to use and should suffice for most users. Let's ask the big question now. I ask myself, why, with all the engineering and product design skills obviously available, copy or at least get heavily inspired by the Constellation Alpha? The gimbal, maybe. I already elaborated on that. But the grip? We already have the Alpha and it has a very distinct form and appearance. Flicontech should have rather focused on developing their own grip design instead of creating an ergonomically probably worse Alpha with some slightly better internals. Pricing also is a problem, because right now the set, if not on sale, is only a bit cheaper at €400 compared to the $475 for the Virpil combo. And Virpil is an established company you can count on to still exist in 5 or 10 years of time. All of this together could make it tough to sell the EVO 1. It's not a bad product at all, but fails to set itself apart from the competition from my point of view. On the other hand, the base is excellent and the software provides a promising foundation to build upon. If Flicontech can expand their portfolio with a unique throttle unit and other, maybe more specialized grip designs, we might see some surprising and well-made flight controls in the future. The engineering prowess demonstrated is evident. Now, all that's missing are truly unique products with a clear identity of their own. If you're searching for a new set of flight controls, check out my HOTAS overview here. I'm releasing a new and updated version of it every year. It'll help you make a good choice. Fly safe and see you soon.